and this conference has had quite largely a practical focus. So there's been a lot of discussion which has been really doing quite some details, like particular sorts of arrangements for international scientific collaboration, details of particular lines of technological development. We had explanation of foresight studies that have been conducted for very specific industries, for example, and looking at the prospects for technological development and in some cases for development of whole systems in these industries. And these questions, people who addressed them clearly had a good theoretical and conceptual understanding behind it, but the discussion wasn't so much about these pure science type issues. It was much more about the practical things. So those were most of the sessions that I've been in. There are always exceptions. There were some people who raised questions that were more philosophical. So we had at one point a discussion of what is a technology. But most of the time it was quite a practical orientation. That isn't always the case. But that is the case with, at least with the sessions I've been at in this year's conference. The session I've just been at was one which was exploring the prospects for setting up an international network of centres of excellence in foresight work. So that was also very practical, and it was about how, while there are many, many professional groups of people that do futures work, and some of people that do technology forecasting and the like, people that have got experience with pretty large-scale systematic technology foresight programs and working sort of at the boundary between futures work and innovation studies, have not been particularly well catered for. So the idea is trying to set up some way of allowing us to communicate, to network, to share best practice, to do some real sorts of experimental designs about how to use different sorts of methodology, where this approach works, where that approach works, to basically do some quality control, and to help accumulate the knowledge a bit, because the area's often been one where it's been guided by one guru or another guru saying, this is the way to do it, no, this is the way to do it, this is what's going to happen, no, this is what's going to happen. And we need to you have a more serious set of debates than this, I think. A lot of the things that we're talking about are issues where there are grand challenges, where society is clearly facing very big challenges. Challenges of the physical security of water resources, for example, which has been a lot of sessions today. Challenges to do with technological security, like will our infrastructures be resilient to climate change, to natural disasters, things of this sort. This is a subject which has occupied some people a lot in the past, but which hasn't reached a high level of debate until very, very recently, I think. And then there are questions of how we need to incorporate more social actors into thinking about innovation, thinking about research priorities, thinking about what we're trying to accomplish through innovation, because across a range of current technological developments, there are some very big questions raised about, maybe this is an ethical question, maybe this is a political question, maybe it's a social question, but what are we doing with artificial intelligence? What are we doing with genetic engineering? What are we doing even with things like 3D printing and drones and things of this sort? Some things are coming into wide use which were just science fiction only a few years ago, for example. We can see on the horizon there are some things that are very exciting but also very challenging, and we need to think of ways in which we can engage more people into recognizing that these are topics that are going to concern more people in the future.